Dennis, thanks for joining us here on TexAgs. How you been, man?
I'm good. Relaxing, actually.
Good for you. Playing a lot of golf, right?
Played yesterday. Played a few times. Yeah, it's. I'm not gonna sit around. I've got projects I'm working on, but it's nice to wake up every morning without having something over your head that you have to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, do you feel okay? It's been a little bit over a month. It was right during the Final Four, correct? Your last day.
Yeah, it was April 10th. Actually, was the last day. Yeah.
Was that an emotional weekend for you?
It was only because CBS really made a big deal about it. And look, I'm grateful. They wanted me to write a farewell column. The president of CBS Sports put out his own tweet the day it happened. I had a couple of outings in San Antonio where people from the company took me out, and it was great, but it's like, really, for me, all I'm doing is retiring. It was almost too much, but grateful for it. It was great.
Is it interesting or difficult to potentially not follow the beat the way you always have? Do you find yourself still reading everything, consuming everything college football?
I still read everything. I thought I'd have more withdrawal. God, I got to weigh in, or I got to do this. And I have called people, just to stay current on stuff. But the only time so far that I really, really wanted to write is during the Shedeur Sanders thing in the draft, where you literally could have written a different column each of the 3 days. First day, well, he's not drafted. Second day, he's going to be drafted as a backup. Third day, is he going to be drafted at all? And everything that went with it. I think we now understand that his talent was overrated for a first round starting pick. And then for the backup part of it, who wants a backup quarterback who's, posse or what have you, his people may overshadow the entire team. And one tweet from Deion Sanders could take down an entire franchise. So I think that's what had to do with it. Best of luck to him. I thought he was a great player at Colorado. We'll see how it goes.
What's the most memorable game that you covered?
Oh gosh, at CBS, it was probably the pick six. That and the 22 Tennessee-Alabama game where they took the goalposts out to the Tennessee River. I think that was 22, wasn't 23. Because in that one, I was also covering for HQ, our streaming site, and nearly got decapitated twice by the goalpost being taken down the field. I luckily ducked just in time, and it ended up interviewing at the 50-yard line that Hyatt, that receiver who was so good that night. I don't think he heard anything I asked him, and I certainly didn't hear anything he answered. But they slapped it up on the site, and our people loved it. So it was, I guess, those two, yeah.
Dennis, I want to go back 27 years ago when you started at CBS, and somebody would have told you, hey, this is what college football is going to look like, at least the playoffs or the postseason over the next few years. You're going to have your BCS era. You're going to have your 14 playoff, your 12-team playoff. And oh, by the way, it's probably going to end up being 16. Just kind of talk to me about what it was like in '98 and through your lens, this evolution of college football.
Yeah, just complete unknown. It was like, okay, great. We're going to have two teams play for the championship. Okay, that sounds right. Well, I finally decided on the field. Well, how many of those years were, it was a clear-cut 1 and 2? And there were some, but there was always something going on. Even the first year, Florida State didn't have its starting quarterback, was injured against Tennessee and at Arizona State at Sun Devil Stadium. And I remember the backup, and you can remind me of the name. The backup was nicknamed Rooster, and he almost beat Tennessee. And that was the year I think we were delayed for maybe hours getting into the press box because the vice president was showing up, so they had to get the dogs and everything. But I mean, that's different than your question. I couldn't have imagined a point where, look, I had Jerry Palm on speed dial. I had, because of all this math, I couldn't keep track of it week to week. And then when the playoff came, that seemed like the next logical step. But you had this Tuesday night thing, which I think is just I'm among those who think it's utterly stupid. I think it's just it's a pursuit of advertising dollars and created content because you get really nothing out of it. But that being said, it's been a net positive because the game has never been more popular. I said last year, my last full year on the beat, I've never had a more fulfilling year with everything that went on the first year of the 12-team playoff. I really think it enhanced the game. There was more interest. Teams trying to get in it, teams dropping out of it. I think we all thought there was in the back of our minds, hey, it's not going to, it may not matter, or it may matter if a team loses in week 3 in a showdown game. Well, no, it didn't matter that Ohio State lost to Michigan. That opens a whole new can of worms. Ohio State, or vice versa, Michigan can lose to its top opponent, not even play for the Big Ten championship, and win the national championship. I thought, as far as storylines, that was great.
Do you think, though, it's sustainable, the growth and the interest based on the Wild West that they, I guess, are putting some, guardrails if you believe the House settlement is going to lead to that? But I feel like more and more olds like myself that are talking about, I don't know if I want to keep investing my time into a sport that changes every few seconds.
Yeah, that's a great point. I keep coming back to the conclusion that, everybody, what's it going to be like when they pay players? And, we've witnessed it now for 4 years. July 1st will be 4 years. Now we can argue about, what the final prospect is going to be, what the House settlement's going to look like if there's collective bargaining. But I think we all know at the end of the day, the players are going to be paid, but they've been paid for 4 years. We're just talking about what amount. I keep telling people, I've seen Shedeur Sanders drive to work in a Maybach. I've seen the gold watch. On Saturday morning or afternoon, all I care about is if he plays well or not. And I think that's what the fans have shown is unprecedented. The ratings are high. We know that. Attendance is up. They're voting with their feet by going to the games. And I think that will endure. As much as I think what you're referring to, as much as the administrators want to wreck this game by their own selfish interests, and that's what it is right now. I don't think they can. I think it's going to endure. There's going to be a play, whatever comes out of it. The playoff is going to be there, whether it's a Super League and only 50 teams or a 16-team playoff with everybody in it. And that's what this latest Trump presidential commission wants to do. It's going to endure, I think.
Talking to Dennis Dodd here on TexAgs Live. Dennis, talk to me about what Coach Elko did in year 1 to year 2. Like what you think he's going to be able to do. Do you think he's putting them in the right direction?
I do. I just think I think A&M's in a situation that a lot of teams are in now. I don't call it realignment anymore. I call it consolidation, where now you have to play these same teams in year 2, just flip the venue. And that was pretty tough last year. A good year 1, but you have to go to Notre Dame. You have to go to Missouri, which was obliterated, but will have the revenge motive. It's going to be tough. I think he laid a good foundation. They had a really good recruiting class, but you've got Texas that's going to be pick number 1 right down the road. Well, the last time, we all know the last time they were in the same conference was, in the Big 12. Well, now it means more, to borrow a phrase. You're in the SEC, not only competing for that, but for a playoff spot, for a conference championship, and a national championship. So I think Mike Elko's laid a good foundation. It remains to be seen, what long-term progress there's going to be made. But it's everything's on the table. I think for all these schools in the SEC and the Big Ten, the potential is unlimited. Those who don't live up are going to fall short. You see that already.
Last thing for you. Why do you think over the last 30 years, A&M has not been able to break through? You had your moment, you had 98, K-State, winning the Big 12. You had the Johnny year in 2012 and 2020. And other than that, it's just been kind of mediocre.
Yeah, that's a question for the ages, isn't it? There could be books written on that. I was there for both of those. I was there for the Johnny stuff and that game in 98. Man, I should put that on the list where I keep getting this wrong. I can't remember either. A&M or K-State was up by 12 with 9 minutes to go, or 9 with 12 minutes to go. I can't remember. But anyway, we know how it ended. Overtime, and A&M wins, but can't get over the hump. Some of it was selection of coaches. Some of it was, Heisman Trophy winners leaving, like a Kyler Murray. Obviously, some of it is recruiting not measuring up. So you've still got, what is the last championship? It was 1939, I think. I think that's right.
Yep.
Part of it is chasing Texas, which they will continue to do forever. And I said, now the price of poker has gone up because they're in the same conference. And that's going to be, that last game of the season every year. So it's hard to put your finger on. I mean, it's really hard to blame anybody when you've got the best of everything there. Yeah, I guess you can blame individual people, but there's no reason that Texas A&M shouldn't be a contender for the national championship every year. All you have to do is take one step on that campus and see not only the sports facilities, but the campus in general. And, who wouldn't want to play there? So it remains a mystery. I'm not going to be an expert on that one.
Dennis, by the way, you were talking about that K-State game. A&M was trailing 27-12 entering the fourth quarter. They scored 15 in the fourth to force overtime, and they won it in the second overtime, 36-33.
Yep. Who was the receiver? They made a movie about him.
Sir Parker?
Oh, Sir Parker.
Running back, yeah. They dropped him.
How about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey,
here's a great story. Here's a great, if you got time,
of course.
Really great story. You can still find this. Bill Snyder, people know this is true. Bill Snyder, in the post game, compared losing that game to the crippling of his daughter Meredith, who was crippled in a car accident and was partially paralyzed. And you can still find it. The 30-second bite is still out there somewhere on the internet. If people want to know how important sometimes college football is and maybe too important to people, go find that, because that's true. He did say that.
Dennis, man, we appreciate you. Hope to check in with you from time to time. We really love your work, and congratulations on an awesome career.
I got plenty of time. I appreciate it.
See you, man.